A little bit. E- Yeah, I've improved my game day crew, so it's not just me down there for Beaver's Edge. So it's closer to 2 hours now. But yeah, I mean, it just kind of depends. Like we didn't leave Cal until 12:30, 1 o'clock. Yeah, no, it's not so much the drive home, but I was actually discussing this with fellow producer Michael Shacker, who's got to drive down to Chad. And we're like, okay, we're going Highway 99 because I 5's going to be a mess. And I'm like, yeah, going to have to see what happens that day because it's not the best planning when you've got, the 55,000 at Otson making their way down and then at least, conservatively 30,000 going to Corvallis. It's a lot of people on the road. Yeah, I said I might have to play a little bit of roulette. I'll be going down with my brother too. We were talking about it yesterday. I'm like somewhere in that range, might be closer to 7:30, maybe 8. But yeah, hopefully give us enough time. I usually like to get down to the game about 2.5 hours prior. I mean, I think you have to, right? I mean, I still feel confident this team improved in the offseason. Like, that they didn't show it against Cal, but this is still, I believe, a better team than we saw for all of last year, have better pieces. It was just a really, really bad opening stanza. Now, that being said, Fresno State's not a pushover. You walk in thinking this is going to be Portland State. Oregon State will, find themselves in a tough spot. But if they're focused, they come out with some urgency. They play better. Malik Murphy more in sync, the defense and better. Yeah, I think it'll be close, but I do think they'll get the win, Chad. Well, and now I'm curious, Chad. Should fantasy managers like myself be racing to grab Brian Robinson Jr. if McCaffrey could be limited at one point? Because he is not. But again, just looking for opportunities. That's a run-heavy offense, and even their backup would probably still see a lot in that Shanahan system.
Oh, you're 100% right. And we were talking about it on the show today because if you would have said after his rookie year that he would set the franchise mark for a player, non-quarterback, in most payout. I mean, that the highest paid non-quarterback in Broncos franchise history. I think most people would have said that's probably a pretty ridiculous thing to say at that time. But here we are, a few years later, and 13.5 sacks. He had 2 touchdowns last year, and a pick six and a fumble recovery for a touchdown. He's obviously grown into being one of those type of pass rushers in the league, and he's an easy guy to root for too. I mean, any conversations we've ever had with him, I mean, even today with the media when he was doing his press conference, it's just he's such an easy guy to root for. He's done the work. He's put in time in the off season to get his body a certain way, and certainly worked on his technique as well, and it's paying dividends. So good thing for the Broncos. There are 3 big guys that they had to get done or they wanted to get done. All 3 of them got signed with very little to no drama at all, which is truly remarkable in this day and age. Remarkable. Yeah, I think it's around 32, 33 million still in dead cap dealing with Russ. I mean, you can get this contract done because you're going to pay out, as the seasons go on. But yeah, I mean, to operate even, last year they took, I think, 52 million of it in dead cap, and then this year is the 33 and the other side of it, and they'll be done after this year. But to operate as they are, not only to make the playoffs last year, but to have some of the expectations levied on them this year, where people not only expecting them to make the playoffs, but maybe be able to do something in that, and all during the process of taking the biggest dead cap hit in history. It is truly remarkable, but it goes to show you what this front office has been able to do, finding talent guys in the draft. I mean, Nick Bonito was drafted before Sean Payton got here. Pat Surtain, Quinn Miners, Jonathan Cooper, guys that all have gotten contracts, even Cortland Sutton. Now, that was before George Payton. But I mean, even these guys, I mean, if these guys couldn't play, Sean Payton would have moved on from all of them. But the fact that they've been able to find not only work for them, but able to fit them into the scheme when they were drafted for a different scheme is really remarkable. Correct. A 63, yeah. I mean, that is remarkable. He has a franchise record, and we've had that discussion this offseason whether or not they can hit that mark again. It's a big number, right? And you know the talent because they have a lot of the same guys coming back, but you just sort of think of all the stats that they were able to put up last year, which is, I mean, that's a big one. That might be one that comes back to the pack, but maybe they're do a little better in turnovers, right? The turnover differential is certainly something they want to continue to be on the positive side, like every team. But they want to be able to get more takeaways on defense, and so if it's a bit of a sacrifice for that, so be it. Now they're got to worry about some injuries because Malcolm Roach looks like he's going to miss some time. Dre Greenlaw still not practicing, and we even got into the first game of the season, and you're already dealing with some of those things. So for the defense to be able to kind of repeat some of that success, certainly health is going to be part of it. Well, people are still drawing conclusions, Chad. They always do. They can't help it. Yeah, I think they're going to be fine. I mean, certainly you would have wanted to see a little more pop from the first team offense, but once again, you're not really game planning. And so I guess we're kind of leaning on that, saying, hey, you didn't see a lot of game planning. They scored that touchdown against the Saints in the third drive. Okay, good. You're shaking some rust off. Hopefully when you get into this game against the Tennessee Titans, which you've been game planning for past couple weeks, you're going to see just a little more pop to the offense, and especially in the run game, because that's kind of the biggest concern, I think, right now. It's not to say that they don't have the talent to do it. We just haven't seen it yet. So you added J.K. Dobbins, you added R.J. Harvey, you went to more wide zone, and then again, you're hoping with Bo Nix showing his ability not only to run the ball, but maybe be a little more prolific in the pass game. That's going to help out the run game too. So there's a lot of reason for optimism, at least on paper. We just haven't seen it yet. And I think it could be a little bit of both, right? I mean, certainly Mike McGlinchey's got plenty of time in that with Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. Garrett Bowles, I think, if athletically can do whatever. He's done both, but I think he's got the athleticism. Same with Quinn Miners. I think they're all built for it, but Ben Powers is not. That is not something that he has really had a lot of time in. And Luke Wattenberg should be able to do that, but once again, some of the concerns and issues that he had last year, you were hoping he could take a step forward this year. Maybe the shift in scheme will help a little bit, but it also could be adding some issues for him. So I don't know. We've been batting that around, like maybe the running game will be more of a work in progress as they start the season. I don't think that's exactly what you had in mind when you made this shift, but it's also just an acknowledgement of where we're at. It seems like the second team and third team offensive lines were a little better, but again, it's a preseason, so it's so tough to know when you're playing against guys that are third and fourth string players. But they seem to have a little more success. But now that you got your starters out there, the guys you're paying, it's the fifth highest paid offensive line in the league. So you've got to be better. You have to be better than what you've shown. And so we're going to find out when they play Tennessee, who's got a really decent front. Yeah, it's going to be running back by committee, and so sorry to disappoint the fantasy people. I get asked the same questions as well, and I know R.J. Harvey tends to get drafted ahead of J.K. Dobbins. I do think that there's a lot more upside there with Harvey, and it's going to be interesting to see because I think pass pro plays a bigger role in this. That's obviously not a fantasy football discussion, but it's a non-field discussion, and if R.J. Harvey struggles at all in pass pro, then that may limit some of the options they have with him. I mean, he could definitely be a good receiving back out of the backfield. There's no denying that fact. But then you go to the other side of that and say, okay, but does that limit some of what you can use him in if you need him in say, hurry-up offense and you need him to be able to be good in the backfield blocking for Bo Nix, where J.K. Dobbins is phenomenal at that, and we already know that. So maybe R.J. Harvey's an early down role guy because then you don't have to ask him to pass pro, and then you bring in J.K. Dobbins as more of the relief back. It's going to be tough to really measure it out until we see it, but I do think they both have a pretty significant role. They got Riley. Yeah, they have, and then they got Jahdae Barron that they drafted, and they have Jaquan McMillan. Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, when you talk about the 63 sacks, you ask anybody on that defensive front, they're going to say the secondary is a big reason why they got all those sacks. And it allows you to do a lot of things. And you saw also what happens when those guys aren't in. Pat Surtain missed a couple of games, and boy, it's like playing with one arm behind your back. Riley Moss was banged up for a little bit there, and even when he came back, he wasn't 100%. Yes, yeah, it was unbelievable, and you just saw it. It's like, holy cow! Like maybe Riley Moss should be a defensive MVP candidate because of what he means to this team. So yeah, they really do need these guys, and I think that's part of the reason why they drafted Jahdae Barron where they did. I mean, they had other options. They certainly had a trade back option that looked pretty good, but they ultimately decided to stay with Jahdae Barron in part because they like being one of the deepest secondaries in the league. They like having those options, and Jahdae Barron's going to play a lot early on. I don't know if he's going to be quote unquote a starter. He's listed behind on the depth chart of Jaquan McMillan. But I know they have a significant role for him carved out because he's a very talented player, and they have high hopes for him not only in the short but also long term. But yeah, it's a really good secondary. It's a big reason why that defense is expected to have so much success this year. I like the arrogance. Yeah, I feel like it's been good. Like, yes, the guys they've been pretty positive about it. I think that most of them say we want our coach to believe in us that way. We want our coach to see us that way. So far it's been good, but it's one of those things like putting out an expectation, like, hey, this is one of 7 teams that I think can win a Super Bowl that I've had. That's a bold statement, and the players already look up to Sean in that way because of his experience and because he has a ring. And so it's you say something like that, and it's like, all right, well, you're already dealing with the pressure of you're not going to be overlooked this year. You were 5.5 predicted team last year. You're 9.5 this year. People are talking about deep playoff runs. You got Adam Rank out there saying this is his Super Bowl pick. I mean, you got people that really believe in you. So there's enough pressure to go around without your coach putting it out there. But there's also the speaking it into existence. And it's like, okay, well, everybody else is saying all these things. Do we believe it internally? And the answer is yes. They do believe they're that good of a team. So we'll see if they can do it. Yeah, and I mean that's a reality, right? And especially for Sean. I think the funny thing is, at least for me, and I bring this up, is like his first press conference, he said anonymous donors. We need to be anonymous donors. We need to be out there, not talking a big game. We need to just go to work. And that was a message for the players, certainly not for him, because like one of his first interviews he did with a national publication, he railed on Nathaniel Hackett for how bad of a coach he was. He called it the worst coaching job he's ever seen, and he put all sorts of expectations. He said, "Hey, I'll be able to get the better stuff out of Russ." The very next year, he's talking up Bo Nix is great. It's like number 1 quarterback he would have taken in the draft. This year, he's saying he could be a top 5 guy, and this is a Super Bowl team. So what's been funny for me is it's like, all right, well, rules are for me, for thee, not for me, kind of mentality. And hey, it is what it is, and we'll see how they respond. Yeah, 11 is where I've got them at too, and it's to say that maybe their floor is higher this year than it was last year. Like I think a 7 to 8 wins is probably their floor. Ceiling, maybe we could have a discussion about 11 or 12, but they're kind of in that range. And certainly health is going to be part of this conversation. It has to be, and you're going to have to have moments where the offense carries the defense. Like the defense is going to be really good, but there's going to be games like say Cincinnati where Cincinnati's going to move the ball. I mean, they're just going to do. That's what they're designed to do. And so is that a game where the offense, especially early in the season, can go toe-to-toe with them? And you really do have to prove yourself against some of these better teams, the elite teams in the AFC. Last year, that's the storyline, right? I mean, you got blown out by the Bills in the postseason. You got blown out by the Ravens. You played a good game against the Bengals, but you lost. You got swept by the Chargers, who are a playoff team. You went 1-1 against the Chiefs, but the win that you got really is kind of tough to count because it was against the backup. So, a lot of people are looking at this team and saying, okay, well, they take that step forward and they can go toe-to-toe with the elites, then, yeah, this team has a really high ceiling. But if they once again look like a team that's going to feast off of bad teams and maybe they catch a break here and there with a team that's either napping or has injuries, then there's going to be kind of a tepid response to what they ultimately can do, especially when the postseason comes around. Now I'll be back in the studio because I do the pre and post game, so that's where I get to live most of the time. But they'll have fun down there at the stadium. I definitely miss it at times, but I love what I do. Anytime, brother. Thanks.
Well, I certainly appreciate your time today, Chad Doing here with you, Rip City Drive Live at Spirit Mountain Casino as we kick off a brand new football year. And I've got to tell you what, when football season starts, and I noticed this feeling come over me, kind of wash over me last weekend when I was watching college football, I'm just a better person. Like, everything feels better. The environment around me smells better. I'm just pumped to have football back because I really do enjoy college football, and I love the NFL, and I think there's a lot of great storylines to follow. And for me individually, like right now, I am a big believer in Kenny Dillingham and the Arizona State Sun Devils. I'm looking forward to that game coming up this weekend at Mississippi State with the Cowbells. And then, of course, the Denver Broncos and former Duck Bo Nix going into his second year. They're going to be hosting Tennessee. A lot of great storylines, but the games are great. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is join me this weekend coming up on Saturday here at the sports book at Spirit Mountain Casino. They've got Bet College Ball, which is going to be on Saturday, and there's going to be a drawing time at 4 o'clock. If you come down and you put in a $25 parlay, it could be a 2-teamer, it can be a 3-teamer, it can be whatever you want it to be, but if you put in a $25 parlay on whatever games you want, whatever sports you want, you'll automatically get an entry into the drawing time, and it's going to be cash prizes, $500, $300, or $200 that will be given away at 4 o'clock. And what you can do, and I was talking with the sportsbook manager, Justin Ballinger. He made a very good point. Put in a parlay for $25 on like a couple of money line favorites that you know are going to win the game. You won't win a lot of money on the bet, but you'll get your money back plus a couple of pennies, and you still get the entry into the drawing. So that's kind of a way to circumvent because, parlays are risky business, but not if you're going to do a 2-team parlay with a couple of massive favorites on the money line, and you can do up to 4 of those and get 4 entries into the drawing per day. So come on down and join me. It's going to be at 4 o'clock, which will be right at about the end of both Oregon and Oregon State. The Ducks are going to host the Cowboys of Oklahoma State. That game kicks off at 12:30 on CBS. And then, of course, the Beavs playing at the same time. They'll host Fresno State, 12:30 kick. It's going to be on the CW. So come down and hang out. And what's great about the sportsbook here, you've got great seating, cushy chairs. You've got a spot about 20 steps away in Tin Barrel Brewing where you can get your beverages and some good food. My buddy Alex came down to watch the Notre Dame game on Sunday last week and got a pizza and a brew and enjoyed the game, and then went over into the Topgolf Swing Suite and played a round of golf on the simulator. So a lot of different things to do down here. But if you're going to hang out, here's the beauty of it. Look, guys, you know how this works, right? If you're around the house and you're sitting on the couch and you haven't moved for like 10 hours because you've been doing nothing but watching football, your wife or your significant other could have a tendency to get irritated at you. That's why you come down here, because you can hang out and do the same thing, but your wife's eyes won't be on you for 10 straight hours as you do nothing but just watch football. You got to be creative in how you get in your football time, but a lot of big matchups this weekend. And, of course, this is your place to bet on college ball. And you can bet on both Oregon and Oregon State. I think the Beavs right now sitting there at a 2.5-point favorite over Fresno State. The Ducks anywhere from 27.5 to 28-point favorite over Oklahoma State. And my dad is sick to his stomach. Oklahoma State grad, did his graduate work there. A big Cowboy fan. I offered to get him tickets to go to Eugene. He said, I do not want that. And I'm like, are you sure? Because how often does Oklahoma State come out here? They visited Corvallis back in 2019. This is the first time they visited Eugene since we moved out here in 87. And he's like, look, I don't want to watch my team get thrashed and then be around a bunch of opposing fans. And I'm like, okay, that's fair enough. I'm with you on that. I understand. I got it. So I was just offering it up. One other thing I wanted to get to, this is definitely a scorching hot take, but Ryan Clark of ESPN often says some bizarre things. But here he is. The conversation started about Arch Manning, and they were talking about generational talents. Well, apparently Ryan Clark does not think that Tom Brady, Drew Brees, or Peyton Manning are generational talents. Take a listen to this crazy stuff. Ryan Clark, ESPN.
Few of them. I think there's less than what you think. I think John Elway was a generational talent. I think Patrick Mahomes is a generational talent. I don't think Tom Brady, I don't think Drew Brees, I don't think Peyton Manning are generational talents. I think Andrew Luck ended up being a generational talent. I don't think there's a ton of them out there.
But so then how does one in your eyes be a generational talent? Because there's not a lot of difference.
Production. Let me chime in here because I love the argument back and forth between y'all. I ain't trying to get in the way of it. Here's the reality. The operative word here is. Do you believe Arch Manning is a generational talent?
All right, there you go. So according to Ryan Clark, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning are not generational talents. And I agree with the assessment. John Elway and Patrick Mahomes. In fact, Elway is considered the greatest quarterback prospect in the history of the draft in terms of all the measurables. Smarts, talent, arm strength, mobility, size. He had everything you want in a quarterback. And there are a few of those guys that come around every once in a while. But, I would consider Tom Brady a generational talent because of the way he was able to work and study the game and his accuracy and his production. He won 7 Super Bowls, and he played for an extended period of time and part of one of the greatest dynasties in the history of the league. Peyton Manning was a generational talent, a phenom. People knew about Peyton long before he got to Tennessee, and then he thrust himself into the NFL and had a rough rookie season but quickly figured things out and ended up winning championships with 2 different organizations. And the same thing goes with Drew Brees. He didn't have all the measurables. There were teams that passed on him because of his size, but he ended up becoming one of the most dominant quarterbacks of his generation. And that's through his work, his smarts, and the way he was able to do things. I guess it's just maybe how you define a generational talent. I mean, if you're talking about physical tools, like the physical attributes, then maybe, Brady wasn't a fast guy. He couldn't run. He's not going to scramble out of the pocket and take off for a first down. That's just not how he played the game. Drew Brees being the same, Peyton Manning being the same. But they were, pocket guys who understood the game and could manipulate and dominate the game from the pocket, which is something you still need to be able to do to this day. And it's pretty impressive. Tom Brady, he was phenomenal because of how he learned and studied the game. And he got to the point where he knew what his opponent was going to do before they did it because of his study work, his insane study habits, the time he put in, the way he focused on the game, and he was able to manipulate the game before the ball was snapped. That's high-level quarterback play. Manning did the same. Obviously, Tom Brady, great at the line of scrimmage. Drew Brees the same way. I played that clip for you yesterday on the show. Just listening to Drew Brees talk about Sean Payton's offense and all the different things that you have to break down that are going through your mind when you step up to the line of scrimmage. It's just a good reminder of how much I don't know about football. Those quarterbacks at that level, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's insane. Absolutely insane. And I was looking at the NFL card this weekend. I would say the game I might like the most, the Browns plus 5.5 at home against the Bengals. The Browns right now, keep in mind with Cincinnati, they have multiple holes on their team, particularly on defense. I think the Bengals are a playoff team, but they're not barn burners. They've got serious question marks, mostly about the defense. But for the Browns right now, their offensive line is good. They've got a terrific pass rush. Myles Garrett's one of the best in the game. They're very good defensively. And they've got a quarterback in Joe Flacco who is experienced and is going to make sure his team is in the right play and not make the bad, mistake. And they're going to be playing at home. I think the Browns will keep that game close. That's going to be a tough opener for Cincinnati. And I think the line's getting a little bit out of whack. But there you have it. The other games on the weekend slate that are interesting, I'll just kind of run through and kind of give you my initial take. Ravens at the Bills. I like Buffalo on Sunday night. I think this is the beginning of their eventual Super Bowl trip. It's a big year for Buffalo. I think they've got a great chance to secure the number 1 seed in the AFC. I like the Rams over the Texans. That's a 125 kick on CBS on Sunday afternoon. Give me the Packers over the Lions in what should be a phenomenal football game. I think Green Bay, before they got Micah Parsons, was a true contender in the NFC, and that could be the move that puts them over the top. And the Lions, I think, will continue to get better over the course of the season. But, replacing both offensive and defensive coordinators when your head coach is more of a CEO type and not a coordinator himself. That's going to be a difficult transition for Detroit, losing Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. The 49ers and Seahawks, I have no idea. My mind loves the Seahawks plus 2.5, but I don't understand why the 49ers are favored in that game. The 49ers schedule shapes up nicely for them. I'll take the Seahawks over the 49ers, but there's something fishy about that line with San Francisco laying 2.5 at Lumen Field. I like the Broncos over the Titans, but I think the Titans cover the 8.5. Give me the – I have no take on the Panthers and Jaguars. It's just a messy, hideous game that's got that Chinook salmon smell to it. I want to watch to see what the Jaguars are going to do, and I want to see what the Panthers are going to do. But that's kind of a stinky game. I believe in Trevor Lawrence, and I just keep waiting for this guy to pop, and he hasn't popped yet. What's going on? Commanders favored by 6.5 at home over the Giants. I think that line's too big. I like the Giants to cover, but the Commanders to get the win. I think the Giants have one of the best young defenses in the NFL. I love their defensive front with Abdul Carter and Kayvon Thibodeau. I like the Jets over the Steelers. The Saints and Cardinals, hideous football game. The Saints are one of the worst teams in football. It's just one of those games for Arizona. Like, don't screw it up. Just go in there and get the win. I'll take the Raiders over the Patriots. I got to be honest with you. A lot of people are giving love to Mike Vrabel and Drake May, but I'm not seeing it right now. I think the Patriots are on the right path with the right coach, but I'm not buying them to be a playoff team. I think that's crazy talk. Give me the Raiders over the Patriots in week 1. I like the Dolphins over the Colts. The Colts, like the Saints, one of the worst teams in football with a horrendous quarterback situation. If you're a fan of the Colts and you look at their roster and you know that Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones are your two quarterbacks, you know the season's over before it begins. I like the Browns to cover the 5.5 against the Bengals, and I like the Buccaneers over the Falcons in the Dome. Tampa Bay not getting enough respect, only a 1.5-point favorite, but they're going to win that division, and they've got a chance with their schedule to be one of the top seeds in the NFC. I like the Chargers to cover the 3.5 against the Chiefs tomorrow night. That's going to be on YouTube. It's down in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And there you have it. That's how I see it. All right, big thanks to Brendan Slaughter and to all of you. Don't forget to join me down here for Bet College Ball. The drawings will be at 4 o'clock. Come down before. I'm going to be down here around 2 o'clock. You put in a $25 parlay on whatever sport and whatever games you want. You'll get a drawing ticket that you can put in the drum, and we're going to draw 3 prizes, 500, 300, 200 cash prizes at 4 o'clock on Saturday, and you can kick back and watch both the Beavers and the Ducks. You guys have a good night. I'll be back tomorrow at 3 with the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers,